Today we're going to look at some ideas for helping to reduce stiffness in joints. So here I've got behind me my trusty plastic Fred, the traditional name given to medical skeletons, and so I've got a model of the bones of the legs. I'm just going to show you a couple of little details which are easy to see on parts this side, but a little bit later I'm going to really focus on helping with the flexibility in the finger joints. And for our purposes, what we can say is the general idea of the structure of the joint is pretty similar in the knee to quite a few of the joints that make up our main knuckles here and finger joints. So let's have a look in a little bit of detail. So here we've got Fred's leg, and what you can see is the main thigh bone here has a very rounded end, which then has to fit into a shallow dish area on the top of the main shin bone. So the joint works a little bit like a hinge. Not really a true hinge, but a bit like a hinge, where the moving part rolls around the curve. And I would say it's not a true hinge, because here the curve is shallow, and further round the curve gets tighter, and that helps with being able to get up from a steep crouch and things like that. What we can see here is that in this part of the joint, which is in use when the knee is quite straight, the curve is quite shallow. When the joint is very bent, part of the curve that's in the dish is very tightly curved. And what that does is allow the joint to work very cleverly when we're having to do hard things like squat from a very crouched position. But when it comes to getting the flexibility back, what we're going to be doing is applying shearing forces, shearing one thing on another across the joint in movements that don't ordinarily happen. So here's an ordinary movement of a knee, bend and stretch. But what we're going to do is apply forces more directly across the joint here, or sometimes from the side. Then if we look into Fred's hand, see closely this arrangement here, what we've got, this is one of the main rays that makes up the back of the hand, if you like. And again, it's got this rounded dome tip, and the first part of the finger, which is in here, the base of the finger, is a very similar shallow cup or shallow dish design. Now this joint doesn't really bend around very much, it's wired together, but the finger will go around from here into that shape, and as that happens, the shallow dish rolls and slides and glides over the top of the dome. So what we're going to be doing is looking at some techniques that will help that to happen, and they're simply called accessory movements, and that just means they're movements that you can't produce yourself, but can be produced when when an extra force is applied.